Rallies were held across the United States Wednesday in a national day of action to increase the minimum wage. The Raise the Wage protests were held on the 4th anniversary of the last time the minimum wage was increased to the current rate of $7.25 an hour. In cities from coast to coast, demonstrators rallied outside major retailers and fast food chains, including Walmart, Target, Dunkin' Donuts, and Papa John's.
Right now, as we speak, all across America, people are standing up and stepping out and fighting for you. Raise your wage, McDonald's. Raise your wage, raise your wage,
At the Raise the Wage protest in New York City, fast food workers voted to authorize their third citywide strike for a living wage and the right to unionize without intimidation. The workers assembled in Brooklyn's Prospect Park. A new poll released Wednesday by the National Employment Law Project Action Fund shows 80% of Americans support raising the minimum wage to $10.10 an hour and adjusting it for costs of living. 75% listed a minimum wage hike as a top congressional priority over the next year.
Man, I do like them from Democracy Now!
Oh, they're very concise, and they do cover a lot of things that the mainstream missed.
You know, they're getting ratings like Russia Today now. They're getting to be that credible journalistic thing that you turn to when you're turning off lamestream media.
I mean, they are still corporate controlled to some extent, but...
You know, they're actually covering the story, and that's what we do. I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
You're tuned into the protest version of Radio Free Canada.
In his first international trip as head of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis was greeted by both ecstatic followers and outraged citizens. Tens of thousands of Catholic pilgrims welcomed the Pope for this year's World Youth Day, even mobbing his car in the streets of Rio de Janeiro.
A nightmare for his security entourage. A blessing for a child the pontiff summoned from the crowd with his mother.
For some, the trip highlights his perceived modesty. The New York Times writes, the proximity and lack of pageantry offered yet another example of a Jesuit pontiff who has eschewed the red shoes, elaborate headgear, and luxurious papal apartments of his predecessors. But it was a less than warm reception for the first Latin American pope after his helicopter took off. Protesters filled the streets of Rio, angry not at Francis, but at the Brazilian government's spending habits. Hundreds of angry protesters hurled firebombs at police, who resorted to tear gas and water cannons to disperse the crowds. In recent weeks, Brazil has seen widespread anger and public protests over high public spending on the Olympics and World Cup. Added to that is the Pope's $53 million week-long visit. Though some 22,000 security personnel were on hand to protect the Pope, Francis's decision to forgo the bulletproof Pope-mobile in favor of an open-topped car provided an extra security concern. Fox News explains yet another challenge, writing, Francis's itinerary will at some points push him out of reach of all but his immediate security detail, entrusting much of his protection to the crowd of faithful. For Newsy, I'm Elizabeth Hagedorn.
Wild speculation saying they're setting him up for a sniper.
Wouldn't surprise me, seeing he's eschewing his security detail.
16,000 security into Brazil, was that what it was?
I don't know, it was a lot of money anyway.
So the Brazilians are protesting the Pope's visit. What they were protesting was the government spending millions on the Pope's security.
Yeah.
And it just totally is unnecessary. But hey, the government's got money for that, but not for poverty.
And it's funny how Brazil has fallen out of the news as far as what's going on there is concerned.
Yeah, because they're overthrowing their government.
Yeah.
Once again, we're reporting it. Lamestream media isn't. What do we got next here, man?
Well, apparently there was a little issue between George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin, and there was some fallout from the verdict of Mr. Zimmerman being pronounced not guilty.
So we've got the story right here. It's still on the top of our order. You're tuned into Video Radio. This is Radio Free Canada.
Thousands gather at the State House for the 10,000 hoodie march and rally, showing their support for Trayvon Martin. Well, good evening, and thanks for being with us on this Saturday. I'm Michelle Frizzalone. Thousands and thousands of people filled downtown Columbia, a rally in remembrance of a gunned-down teen. The group is upset that George Zimmerman was acquitted of second-degree murder and manslaughter charges in the 2012 shooting death of Trayvon Martin. And our Jasmine Stiles was there among the crowd. And Jasmine, a lot bigger of a crowd than expected today.
You're exactly right. There was tons and tons of people at the State House, all races, all ethnicities, all all ages, all backgrounds. Today, cities across the nation participated in the National Action Network's Justice for Trayvon 100 City Vigil. Thousands of people gathered at the State House earlier this morning to show their support of the Martin family and to protest George Zimmerman's not guilty verdict. The streets were shut down so the crowd could march to the federal courthouse on Richland Street.
I would want anybody to do it for my son, just to stand for justice and just help bring awareness to the situation. Just mass numbers, try to get change done.
My father walked with Martin Luther King, so I find it a privilege that I can walk in his steps and continue the legacy of fighting for what's right. And a legacy of love is not promoting hate, but standing up to promote love.
Although it's maybe uncomfortable to stand up against the grain, if we don't stand up at some point and say this is enough, then how will we ever come above and do what's right? This isn't black and white, this is right and wrong.
Now, Michelle, the rally also collected back-to-school items and food items to donate to the community.
Okay, thanks, Jasmine. And
so just like the, civilian inquiry into the last RCMP killing here, where they killed a man to protect him from himself. That's for real. That happened. There, they let Zimmerman go because the kid was wearing a hoodie, and that was enough to look threatening.
I guess so. He was scared.
Yeah, he was. These guys are the most fearful, group of individuals you've ever seen.
That's why they got guns.
Of course, Zimmerman there, sure, there was a little bit of a Facebook outreach to support him, and now there's large groups of people hunting him down.
Of course, the mainstream tried to whip that up into a huge thing. There'd be race riots because of the Zimmerman acquittal.
I know.
And that kind of fizzled on them.
I know. And it's funny because it was like they were trying to promote a riot happening.
Because they wanted a government crackdown.
Yeah, but they didn't get it. What they got was people demanding peace.
Yeah.
And they cannot deal with that. Same thing in Egypt. Right now in Berlin, they're taking a look at things in a very serious way at the NSA.
They're not too happy with their own security agencies either.
So let's run the clip.
Demonstrators are gathering in over 40 cities around Germany to show their support for both Edward Snowden and Bradley Manning. The largest of those demonstrations is taking place in the German financial capital of Frankfurt. But as here in Berlin, as well as many other cities around the country, marches are taking place to show their support for the two whistleblowers and to show their anger at the way that not only the United States government has been spying into their private lives, their emails, their phone calls, their social networking sites and the likes, but the way in which the German government appears to have been, not just complicit, but an active partner in taking part in that spying. It's turned out that Germany, being one of the most watched countries by the NSA PRISM operation, over 500 million data connections were intercepted from Germany every month. Now that's according to some of the leaked memos that were put forward by Edward Snowden.
It's awful what Snowden and Manning are going through. They're being treated as criminals for exposing the real crimes of the military and security services.
It's outrageous that the German government refuses to do anything to protect its own people's privacy.
Holding banners saying, "Yes, we scan," a parody of the Obama's election speech for his first term of "Yes, we can." They're angry at what they see as being let down by not only their own government, but the infringements by the United States' government into their privacy. They want to be left alone, they say, and they're saying as well today that they're all Edward Snowdens, they're all Bradley Mannings, and that's why they're standing together across Germany.
So the NSA, of course, is winning hearts and minds around the world.
Yeah, how to win hearts and minds. Spy on one of your best friends. If you'll take a look at the way the fractional reserve lending and the central banks work out, you'll know historically Germany, the UK, and the United States, who do the most amount of spying, started that nonsense.
Exactly. And of course, the security industrial complex is having a field day with the money that's being made in this field.
I know. They're paying themselves off. They're scamming us for huge amounts of taxes, all while saying that they're protecting us from
themselves.
Okay, so we switch gears right now. We jump right across the continents to...
We go across to England.
Okay, so check it out.
For the first time, unmanned drones flying over Afghanistan are now being operated by crews based here in Lincolnshire, not too far from here, from RAF Waddington. And this is the response it's had here. All these people say that they're worried about the disconnect between the drones flying over Afghanistan and the crews based here. Chris Nynham is from Stop the War. You helped organise this. What's your main concern?
Well, I think there's something very sinister about the idea that military personnel in Lincolnshire can attack or kill people in far-off countries, thousands of miles away, at the push of a button. It allows the government carte blanche to fight wars in ways the British people don't know anything about.
But the government says that is not what these drones are being used for. They're mostly being used for reconnaissance.
Well, we know that there's been 350 strikes against targets from British drones in Afghanistan. But the truth is, this is all shrouded in secrecy. And that's the problem. There's no accountability here. We know that our governments want to fight these wars without facing public criticism or debate.
Are you getting mixed up here with the US government and that's preemptive policy on strikes in Pakistan and Syria, which is very different to what the British government does?
There's been 350 British organised strikes in Afghanistan. But anyway, can we be sure that the British won't follow the American example, killing thousands of people in Pakistan? No, we can't.
So very quickly, what do you want to happen?
We want the technology to be banned. We don't want the British government to adopt it. And we want an end to these foreign wars. They make the world a much more dangerous place.
OK, Chris Nynham, thank you for joining us. I'll let you get back on the march now.
Boy, he says it right on the money. He says this interventionism makes the world an unsafe place.
It doesn't really contribute to national security.
And drones are a coward's way of doing things. And I mean that just flat out. If you were to take these leaders, these world leaders, quote unquote, and put them in the front lines, they'd pee themselves and run away.
Well, I think the American people are getting tired of flinging their children onto the designated enemy's bayonets.
And you know what? It's happening all over, and it's just not about war.
No, it's also about energy policy.
Okay, so protesting is picking up steam. They're actually going to shut down these pipelines. We got news on that, but I want you to check this out.
A peaceful start to the day as protesters and police chatted over breakfast. But all that was soon to change.
People do not want this. It's everything. Please don't do this.
The day's first delivery of equipment to this woodland site, earmarked for test drilling by a fracking company, and the day's first arrest.
Wait!
It's incredibly distressing. I mean, this is day 2, really, of arrests that we've seen. There were 16 people arrested yesterday on the blockade just in front of the site.
Protesters here are trying to stop these lorries from entering the site, but the company Quadrilla say they're simply test drilling for oil at this stage and say they have no immediate plans to start the controversial process of fracking. The method involves using high-pressure liquid pumped deep underground to split shale rock and release gas. Local residents here fear that will eventually happen.
90% of people in this village do not want them here. Where is our voice? Who is standing up for our voice?
Quadrilla say they do have government approval for test drilling here, which is expected to start on Monday. Juliet Parkin, BBC News, Alcombe.
Yeah, as if they're going to try, testing it and then not do it.
Well, exactly, and I mean, if you want to know about the detrimental effects of fracking, check out Josh Fox's work, Gasland and Gasland 2.
Yeah, okay. Check out the special gas holes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an amazing one. We're doing it right here. Freeloaders coming up. We're going to be talking about a 200 mile per gallon car. And then we're going to talk about a water-powered car. But we've got some other specials coming up. Our most important one is the Municipal Sustainability Project on YouTube right now.
That's right.
We're going to end poverty, and we're going to start it right here. I'm Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet.
Have faith, because we're going to bring you the real news, and your favorite segment is coming up.
You just can't make up.
It's right here. It's Radio Free Canada. Thanks for tuning in and being part of the solution.